Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Well, students, hope so you all are fine, good and healthy. Well, I have received requests from many of the students that we are very much confused about the chapter 3, that is about biodiversity. So, today I have decided that I'm going to do work for you on the biodiversity. So that's why I'm making this video. The first and the most important thing is that what is the biodiversity? Basically, beta, there are at least 10 million kind of the organisms used to live in the earth. But out of these 10 million, we know one by the third. Like if let's suppose if I'm going to divide this 10 millions into the three part, then the organism which we know is only the one part. So only about 1 by 3 part of the organism is known by the biologist. There is too much diversity, there is too much variety, there is too much variation in the living organisms. You know it very well that there are even millions of the more than the millions of the species around you. Let's suppose just take the simplest example like the lizards in your house. There are many types of the lizards having different colors, having different shapes, having different length of the tails, as well as just check it out the flies, the house flies around you. So it is like that beta, we have the varieties in the organisms. Just like that, if you are going to went to the centaurus and you are going to see the varieties of the cloths are there. So we have divided these all organisms into the 5 major group. The one is a prokaryote, protist, fungi, plants and animal, and in these chapters we are going to discuss about these 5 group of the organisms. Let's move next. It is like that, student, what is a biodiversity? The biodiversity is basically the biodiversity. Bio means life and diversity means the variation. So variation in the life is known as the biodiversity. Diversity means the variety. So we have the variety of the life is known as a biodiversity. There are the many species, as I told you before, the 10 million species are there living in this world, and 1 by 3rd is known by us. The variety of the plant is known as a flora and the variety of the animal is known as a fauna. The variety is depending upon the climate. Let's suppose beta, there is a polar bear who only used to live in the polar region. Let's suppose there are the fishes who are only going to live in the sea water instead like in the water, not in the desert or in the tropical area. So they are basically depending upon the climate, the altitude, the soil and the presence of the other species. Let's suppose beta, a lion would not stay in the jungle if there is no other animal on which it is going to survive. You know very well, a lion is the meat eater. He is the carnivorous. So obviously they are not going to live in the jungle if there is no other species. Okay? So that's why I'm saying that it is depending upon the climate, altitude, soil and the presence of the other species. Biodiversity is not distributed evenly on the earth. It means that it is not like that the biodiversity is distributed equally on the earth. Let's suppose in the desert there would be 5 million organisms, in the water there would be the 5 million organisms, in the tropical area there would be 5 million organisms. No, they are distributedly unevenly made. The very less organisms are present in the desert plus in the polar region where the temperature is very less. Similarly, many of the organisms used to live in the tropical level. Tropical level is the level where more temperature is. Similarly, in the temperate area like moderate region, many of the organisms are there. So if we are going to discuss that, it is said that biodiversity found on the earth results in the 4 million years of the evolution. This means that it is 4 billion years before like the evolution begins. What is the meaning of this? This means that there was one bacteria 4 million years before, and this bacteria slowly and gradually converts into the organism, a complete whole organism like plant and animal. The evolution means a little change in the organisms. Like let's suppose first there was the subatomic particles on the earth. After that, it becomes the atom. After that, it becomes the element. And after that, it becomes the organelle. And after the organelles, we form the cell, and cell is the living organism. So they are saying that the more than the 4 billion years before, this result, the organism results is due to the evolution. Science don't know well that when the life came in the world, but most of the evidence or the you can say that fossils or extincts of the remaining organisms, remains of the living organisms, actually used to give the logical reason that the life begins before 600 million years ago. So let me to tell you that